Yes, you can. A podcast for high achievers. Hi, I'm Tammy North. I'm the owner of the Genuine Driven Women brand of businesses. The goal of this podcast is to help you become the best that you can be. Don't ever doubt the power you have to make the world a better place. Yes, you can make a difference. Today's podcast is brought to you by the 30-Day Executive Presence at Home Challenge. The world needs your gifts now more than ever. Do you want your own executive coach? Well, then I have a treat for you. All you have to do is 30 small challenges while you're hanging out at home, and they will propel you into the future. I've designed each one of these challenges specifically for you to get you ready to take that next big step, no matter if it's a promotion you're looking for, a new passion position, maybe you are in the market for a new opportunity, a new job, or maybe you're starting a completely new career. You'll receive one challenge every day that's jam-packed with easy-to-do step-by-step instructions. You'll get the first one starting today. All you have to do is scroll down into the show notes. You'll find a link there, one quick sign up, and you'll get the first one in your inbox. I've already gotten a ton of feedback, and I can tell you, day 5 is a fan favorite. There's never been a more important time to bring your special gifts to the world. You are a leader, and it is your time to shine. The world needs you to be ready. Are you in? Again, you'll find a link to the 30-day challenge down in the show notes. Now let's get on with our show. What if you got everything you ever wanted? You have a dream, and it's so big that you never thought you'd reach it. Not in a million years. The thing is, you've been going down the path toward that goal for a few years, and believe it or not, it seems like your big goal is just within your grasp. You reach toward it, and you get a hold of it, and then it starts to slip out of your hands. It's like you're a wide receiver who could have been the hero, but now there's 2 minutes left in the Super Bowl, and you're heading toward the zero. It's not too late. The ball might be wobbling, but it's right there at your fingertips, and you still have a chance. You can still make the catch. You have wanted this all of your life, yet at this moment, you're subconsciously doing things to self-sabotage your own chances of success. Deep down, no matter how bad you want this, no matter how hard you've worked to get here, and no matter the huge level of support you have from your vast network that you've grown, there's a part of you who is too scared to actually succeed at your big goal. That's what I want to talk to you about today. We've talked about it multiple times on the podcast, but fear is a genuine feeling that you have at all various parts of your journey, including when everything is working. Because sometimes everything actually goes the way you wished it would have gone, and there it is, right there in front of you. You can have it all. But succeeding is actually scary as well, because success and moving forward and getting that big promotion, your business maybe is taking off and flourishing. You have opportunities that you've never had in a million years, even though you've always wanted them so much. But when you're standing right here on the precipice, ready to move forward, ready for that big success you've been dreaming about, and what that really means and what that is actually going to bring is change. And change is scary. Even when it's a really good change, there's a lot that goes into it. Your change could be moving to a new organization, taking on a challenge that was out of your comfort zone, managing a budget that is much larger than you've ever managed in the past, or maybe the sheer scope of your tasks and what you're responsible for at this point has scaled to a level that is beyond your wildest dreams. All of this is technically good. It's what you've been working for. It's what you've been putting your heart and soul into. So here you are, and I want you to keep moving forward in spite of your fear. There's some things you can do to really facilitate these big changes, especially when they're positive. The first thing you can do is mentally prepare for this change. The further along on the path to your version of success that you get, you will begin to feel and see tangible results. And at some point, you're going to realize that your plan just might work. You're just a skip and a hop from something that just a few years ago felt like a complete moonshot to you. Like you might never reach it. Change can be really scary, and succeeding will bring change. But first, I want you to remember that everything will change eventually, either way, for better or worse. So if it's changing for the better, then this is a moment to relish and to just embrace the challenge. Honestly, even if you stand still and you don't progress any further in your career, change will still come. It's inevitable. I prefer to control my change as much as I can, although it's not always possible. But if you do control your your change as much as you can, you will have a much greater chance of living the life that you want to be living. So there's some steps you can take to prepare yourself to process and manage all the stress that goes along with change. The first is to acknowledge and recognize your own worry about this upcoming change. You're going to have friends, colleagues, family members surrounding you and telling you how awesome this is. Congratulations, this is so great. There's going to be celebration. There's going to be clinking of wine glasses. Life is going to be great. But inside, you're going to have the nerves, the anxiety, and the worry, and that's okay. Take time to be with yourself and recognize that you are worried and acknowledge the feeling and sit with it and try not to overdo it, but acknowledge it. And it's a real thing and it's normal. Anytime that you decide to take on increased responsibilities or you step further into the limelight, any of these types of situations, you will have natural anxiety. Just recognizing and understanding that you have it is the first step. And then there's a number of ways that you can take care of it from there. Make sure that you're practicing self-care through the entire process. Take steps to focus and relax your own mind. There are plenty of mindfulness apps, or you could do something like yoga, meditation, those kind of things, just to make sure that you teach yourself to recognize when your mind is going too far, too fast, when it's kind of whirling out of control. And one of the best things you can do is just teach yourself to focus your mind again, relax your mind, and then calm yourself. And the more senior and the more stressful situations you get in, the more important that's definitely going to be able to self-relax. I'm going to go on a future episode into that topic. I think that's really important, and I don't think enough people talk about that these days. And as you get more senior and as you grow into areas of much greater stress, I think that would be one critical area that you really should take some time to teach yourself. So you know the change is coming. You know that you're going to have this transition, and I want you to own the change. Plan to be in charge of the change that's about to happen to you. Rather than worrying about everything that could happen or might happen, or that you might get overwhelmed, or what if you fail, or what if you don't know what you're doing, or what if somebody thinks you're a fraud. I don't know, there's so many things that go through your mind in these moments where you're about to take a big leap forward. Rather than worrying about all of that, just stop and make a plan that sets yourself up for success. There's going to be parts of your new role or your new situation that you can't predict or that you can't control, but focus on the portions of the new role that you can control. This could mean something as simple as planning a new wardrobe for yourself. If you know you're going into a new, more senior position, you may want to make sure that you look your best and that you are comfortable yet professional, whatever that means for your situation. You know, again, whether you're in Silicon Valley or you are in New York in the financial district, those are going to be two different types of presentations. But for your industry and for your situation, that's one thing you can control is what you're going to wear. Make a plan for the first week or two of your new transition. You could literally plan out the first 14 days of your work or the first 10 days of work and what you plan to wear on those days. Make sure for the first week that you have healthy snacks and drinks, because sometimes you go to a new place or a new position and either you don't have time to drink or you don't have time to eat, and that will increase your stress dramatically. When you aren't taking care of yourself, it starts to show, especially when you get nervous. So if you have something that you can just keep your nutrition up, keep some protein in your body, keep yourself hydrated throughout the day, just make a plan for that. Some other things you can do is read a book that will get your mindset focused on what you're about to do. So let's say you've been hired as the new lead for strategic planning. Okay, that's great. That's awesome. That's a great position to be in. What you may want to do is you're starting this new role in 2 weeks from now. Find a couple of the best books about strategic planning or strategic thinking and read them and get some fresh ideas in your mind. You may have already read several because you're obviously knowledgeable enough that you have been hired to this position, but find a different one that kind of gives you a different perspective, a different way of looking at the situation. Another thing you can do is go read articles and other information on the topic in order to just set yourself up and get your mind rolling on what's current. And if you're in the same industry that you've been working in, for instance, let's say it's a technology sector or a financial sector, let's say, that you could always read articles on strategic thinking from a different sector than you've been working in, just to possibly find completely different ways of thinking about things. Just get your mind kind of open and free and really soak in information from different sources and different perspectives in order so that when you go in and you see exactly what is truly going on under the hood in your new position, then now you have an opportunity to bring knowledge not only from your past experience, but current relevant knowledge from a number of sources that will help you succeed as you go forward in your new role. I also recommend that you spend time visualizing yourself succeeding in your new role. Picture yourself walking in on the first day, you're dressed to the nines, you're owning your position, you're meeting people with confidence, you have a plan of how you're going to introduce yourself to your new team and staff, and a plan for how you are going to bring yourself up to speed on all the different areas that you need to be focusing on. Picture yourself as you are laying out the first strategic briefing to the boss about recommendations to move the company forward. Picture yourself knocking that brief out of the park. Depending on what you know about your new position and depending on how much detailed information you have, I recommend you lay out a rough plan for your first 100 days on the job. Now, make this a rough plan because you don't know what you don't know. Let your key advisors know what you're considering for the first 100 days on your position, and then also get feedback from the CEO or whomever if this is exactly what you ought to be doing. If you lay out a rough plan for your first 100 days, you can include things such as getting to know your staff, getting to know all the tasks and projects they're responsible for, and understanding where the vision that you have for your position aligns with the entire vision of the organization. And then additionally, literal tasks and deliverables that you would like to see from your team and that you would like to deliver up to the CEO during your period of time in order to consider your first 100 days a success. Have you ever done this before when you've gone into a new position? Have you ever laid out your first 100 days on the job prior to taking the position? If you have, I'd really love to hear about that. You can find my contact information in the show notes, and I would love for you to call and leave me a voicemail or send me an email and explain how that worked for you. Because I think that unless you're in a very big role, such as literally the CEO or the President of the United States, some of those giant roles, people do lay out these types of plans. However, I don't think it's common, and I don't think that it only has to happen if you're the CEO. You could be hired as the Chief Information Officer. You could be hired as the Chief Financial Officer. You could be the head of cybersecurity, the head of logistics. You could be any of these types of roles, and understanding that you are now in charge of, let's say, all the training that goes on to this command, or you're in charge of the DevOps environment at this location. Whatever you're doing, this is now your new role. So what are you going to do for your first 100 days, and how are you planning on succeeding, and what does that look like? If people did that every time they started a new job, and once they had it developed, if they aligned it to the vision of the company, they would blow people away. I would love to hear about it. Try to reduce your worry by simply focusing on the positive parts of the situation and just be thankful for the opportunity. You have already overcome so many challenges. You have overcome so much to get to where you are today. Be thankful and enjoy this moment as much as you possibly can. As you're getting ready for that next big step, moving up the organizational ladder or launching your own business or whatever you're up to, one of the things you might be afraid of is a greater spotlight on you. There might be some part of you that's afraid that you'll have a larger group of people focusing on you and that you will drive more scrutiny for your actions or your suitability for the role you're in. And this is definitely a concern if you're rising within an organization, but it's also a concern if you are a new solopreneur, if you're trying to grow your own business, or if you find a lot of success in a hobby or another talent that you have that you didn't really expect. So you're just out there sharing your hobby with the world and then it kind of takes off. This could happen in that situation as well. One example would be a young lady who shares videos of herself playing her guitar and singing, and she loves singing, and she's always dreamed of making her living in the music industry. At first, only her friends are telling her that she's good, but then one of her songs strikes the right chord and her video goes viral. She starts to get requests to sing at events. The local TV station wants to interview her for a lifestyle piece they're doing, and even though this is exactly what she wanted to happen, she starts to freak out just a little about everybody commenting on her videos and all the media attention. I mean, she's always dreamed about this, but still it's kind of surprising when it actually happens. Senior leaders in organizations have the entire organization watching them. Think of other people like the President of the United States. And I'm talking about all the presidents of the United States here. They obviously wanted to be the president. But when you think of becoming the head of your own business, or an executive, at least in the business, you might picture yourself standing in front of the White House briefing room getting grilled every day. Sometimes that's how it feels. The more senior you get, you feel like everybody's staring at you. You're constantly up in front of crowds and groups of people within the organization explaining. Perhaps you're briefing outside of the organization constantly to outside stakeholders or board members, etc. But hopefully it won't actually be as stressful as standing in the White House briefing room. but there's probably going to be days that actually do feel that demanding. So how do you deal with these concerns? One of the first things I recommend is, this is a must, is building a great team around you. You don't have to do this alone. Get to know not only your direct reports, but your peers and people in other areas of your organization that you can count on, that you can learn from, that you can collaborate with to deliver value. When you're prepared and you have a great foundation of knowledge and teamwork, you will feel a lot more confident no matter how much scrutiny you get. Think about the politics and the agendas within your organization. It's important to know where other people are coming from and what they care about most. I mean, these could be critical stakeholders externally, customers to your organization, or they could be people internally, internal to your own organization. Even people on your current team, people that have been assigned to work in your department, people that you have very close to you, they all have an agenda of some kind. Now, their agenda could be to fully support you and what you're doing, but everybody has an agenda. So it's important to understand what their agendas are and what your agenda is, because you have one too. And so it'll be much easier to work when you really get to the root of everybody's motivations, and when you really understand where people are coming from, it'll be much easier to work with them. Some of this will take time. You kind of need to get to know people and kind of need to understand some of the history on occasion to really understand, but it is something to focus on. Not all agendas are bad. I mean, in fact, I would say most agendas are not necessarily bad. It's just a fact. People have biases, they have priorities, they have focuses, they have passions, and all of this ends up kind of working itself into what their agenda is. And that was actually one of the best pieces of advice I got when I was young. I was sitting in a room, I don't know, this is probably almost 20 years ago now. I was sitting in a room and I was pretty young, and somebody said, "Tammy, you see everybody in this room right here? Every single person in this room wants something, and you know what we need. So make sure you understand what they are thinking and try to align what you're thinking with the people who agree with what you're thinking. Try to align with the people who are basically in agreement with what we want, and we can actually make our initiative happen." It was when I was first a naval officer. I remember that conversation very well. And to this day, that person who said that to me is one of my mentors. I think before that time, you can see I'm a pretty optimistic person, that I generally just believe everybody's trying to do the right thing. And I think that's still basically true. But the thing is that their version of what the right thing is and your version of the right thing may not be the same, or maybe they have overlaps, like a Venn diagram of alignment. So you kind of have to figure out what everybody really wants and what you want, and try to find the people that you can kind of work with to move your initiatives forward that you care about. And then work on managing expectations of others around you. So this includes your boss, your stakeholders, customers, and your own team. But as you move into your new role and as you make these big changes and grow within your organization, make sure you're pushing the envelope, but that's only going to work if you're bringing excellence and if you are honest. So the name of my company is Genuine Driven Women. I am 100% about being the real you, being honest, being straightforward, but doing the right things often does mean pushing the envelope, because sometimes it's easier for everybody just to stay in the status quo. And the status quo isn't necessarily a bad thing, it's just not always the best thing. And so bring excellence, but do it honestly in a straightforward fashion. How do you deal with your own self-sabotage once you realize that you're doing it? Self-sabotage is when you're taking actions that go directly against what you're striving for. I mean, there's some examples that are in everyday life, such as when you say, "I want to lose weight," but then you eat a box of cookies. Or when you say, "I want to get in better shape," but then you sit around watching Netflix all day rather than creating a habit of exercise. And as far as executive presence goes, this can happen when you're climbing the career ladder as well. It can happen if you're rising in an organization or if you're beginning to find success as an entrepreneur. Just when you're about to get whatever you were dreaming of, or just when you actually do achieve it, you do something to put everything in jeopardy. If you truly do want it, and if you worked this hard to get it, then why would you do this? Well, the answer is in most cases that you're not even fully aware that you are self-sabotaging yourself. Somewhere internally, you have a deep-seated fear of your success, and you're taking actions against your success to save yourself from it. I mean, this gets kind of deep into analysis, but there's some simple ways you can actually combat that. If you have a hard time conquering this could be a good reason to go seek out a counselor to work through the challenges. But it's possible you can just take some of these steps and actually get through it on your own. But try to be aware of the reality of the situation and how serious it is. But first, just make yourself aware that you might be self-sabotaging your own success. So try this. Get out your journal and write out all the reasons that you've been blocked from your version of success to this point. And be honest when you're writing out whatever you're writing in your journal. You could write down all the reasons why it could be somebody else's fault, or why maybe there's somebody in your organization that didn't like you, or you could write out that kind of stuff all day. Okay, so be honest. If you feel like you have arrived at your dream job, then ask yourself if you're currently, right now, or in the very recent past, taking any actions that go directly against you remaining in this awesome job. Are you becoming less dependable? Are you doing self-destructive behaviors? For instance, have you started drinking a lot? Have you been kind of outlandish? I don't know what outlandish means, but compared to your normal way. Are you losing your temper, getting angry? Have you started procrastinating on really important projects? Have you started being late to work when you hadn't been in the past? These are some examples, but be honest and get all your thoughts down on paper. What are the things that you might be doing that if others started focusing on or realizing you were doing it, that it might put your position in jeopardy? And the reason we're doing this exercise is because oftentimes we are our own greatest enemies. In your journal, organize the top 2 to 3 ways that you are self-sabotaging. And these will be based out of the list that you previously wrote down right in the step before. But out of, write down everything you think of in the first step in your journal. But then this next step, just pick out the top 2 or 3, the ones that are like the biggest factors, and try to figure out or analyze where these came from. Why are you doing these? What is the root cause? Is there something additional that's causing these actions? Or have you always had these behaviors and you hid them, but now that you have more stress, they're kind of showing themselves more? Or is there some kind of fear that you need to deal with? So really spend some energy here. Write, you could do some free writing. There's many different writing exercises where you just write everything you can think about these actions or issues, and then review them and see if there's something in there that you're noticing that's kind of a common theme. And then once you have admitted to yourself that you are doing some amount of self-sabotage and that these are your top 2 or 3 worst issues that you're having, draft out an action plan to deal with your top self-sabotage issues that you are having. This action plan could be, let's say, that you have started procrastinating. Okay, there are definite ways to correct procrastination issues. In fact, I have at least one or maybe more podcasts back in my library talking specifically about procrastinating on this feed right here. So you can go back there and look at that. There's multiple books on the issue. I'll pull out a couple of my favorite. I'll link the podcast episode I did on procrastinating and put it down in the show notes. And I will also link 2 of my favorite books on procrastinating and put them down there as well. That's an example, but whatever your issue is, you can decide that. Also, we talked, I don't remember if it was, I think a couple weeks ago, the book Atomic Habits, that you can make small steps to improve bad habits that you've started having. So for instance, if you realize that you've started being late to work, then you can make small steps every day that'll start improving your overall habit. If you are late and you make 365 very small changes in your days, then you will completely fix that habit probably very quickly. But by a year from now, you won't even remember that you have even had that problem. If you're late to work and you're starting to be late to work, then you can set a morning routine. You can set a routine for the night before. You can pack your lunch. You can pack your car the night before. You can do most of your getting ready for the morning the night before. You can set your coffee pot to go off early. You can set your alarm 15 minutes earlier. You can set several alarms to mark your milestones throughout your morning. You see what I mean? There's like different ways that you can do, but just make an action plan for whatever things you are doing that are self-sabotaging your success. A person with executive presence will continue to find success as they grow in their career. Imposter syndrome and other limiting beliefs may impact you from time to time. So you must continue to raise your self-awareness and monitor your actions for behaviors that could self-sabotage your plans. There's a reason you are so passionate about your big dream. So don't let your own fears stand in the way of getting everything you ever wanted. You are intelligent and driven, and just as you have overcome previous obstacles, you will conquer this one too. So what did you learn about yourself today? If you were really honest with yourself as you worked work through these exercises. What's your biggest surprise when you think about it? Are there any ways that you've been self-sabotaging? I would really love to hear about them. And if you have, what did you do to correct it? All my contact information is down in the show notes, and I would love to hear about it. You can connect with us on Facebook at Genuine Driven Women, or to learn more about what we offer, check out genuinedrivenwomen.com.